I'd like to call June 12th, 2023 Triton School Board meeting in order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any visitors?
I had no requests for speech this evening.
Yeah, I guess for those, we're missing a couple people tonight, if you didn't notice. Anyway, need a motion to approve the revised agenda.
Some.
Second.
Motion from Jim, second from Wendy. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Cooper Pride.
Yeah, I don't know how many of you were, well, those of you that were at graduation. When I was sitting there and watching Mr. Witherspoon direct the choir, I wanted to sing almost, and I don't sing, but the enthusiasm that he had, and I just wanted to recognize him because that was cool to see, because I've never sat on that side of it and seen that before. So very cool to see. And also Marcia, I just wanted to recognize Marcia, all the time that she puts in helping with our choirs playing piano. I just wanted to recognize those two. Noticed at graduation, and it's just pretty cool when you have those kind of things, those experiences, that you see those things and appreciate them.
Thank you. Approved consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Motion from Rebecca, second from Dwayne. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business. Discuss and approve insurance.
Yeah, most of you know I'm neither Jay nor Brian. Got sent to be the bearer of bad news, so like they say, don't kill the messenger. I handed out to the board members, and there's handouts back there. Shows what this year's premium is, at least for the package, which is your liability and your property. This year's premium versus last year's. Regarding that, there was about a $21,000 increase. That's pretty well standard across all insurance. All insurance has gone up substantially because carriers are taking losses. And especially EMC on schools. They took a large increase on the property portion of your insurance. So of that 21,000, 15,000 of it is from the property coverage. And that's basically, they insure about 90% of the schools in the state of Minnesota, and they got beat up really bad last year. There's a lot of storms in Minnesota, and we just didn't see them here. So now to combat that, one thing we're looking at, we're waiting on the numbers back from the adjuster. As you guys are currently at $2,500 deductible, we are quoting a $5,000 and a $10,000 deductible just to see if that would save any money, or how much it would save, if it'd be worth making the change. So we'll stay in touch with Craig on that. Otherwise, the GL, like the liability stuff, didn't go up much. It was basically just the property, because what they found out is everything was basically underinsured because of inflation. It cost so much more to build things when they had their claims this year. They were upside down. Regarding the work comp went up about $3,700. And the reason for the increase to Triton is that your experience mod went from a 0.69 to a 0.83. So the experience mod basically rates you against your peers. And if you think of 1 as 0, so your base rate is going to start at 1 as an experience mod. If you're below 1, you get a discount on your insurance, and if you're above 1, you get surcharged on your insurance. So you went from a 0.69 to a 0.83, still good, but you lost part of your discount. That's where your increase came from, because actually the work comp rates went down. There was also questions about drone coverage. So. The drones would be. About $400 per drone for liability insurance. And then about $350 per drone for, physical damage. $350 minimum, so that would cover you up to about $7,500 drone. I don't know how many drones you guys have or what they're worth. One, and what's it worth? 1,000, so you'd be looking at the. Minimum premium and the physical damages, you got $1,000 deductible, so.
It is something new that I learned, that if you have drones, you better have insurance.
So the main thing that you're looking at on drone, the reason liability higher. But it's actually more so what we call like personal injury, is if they think you're peeking over the fence spying on somebody, and that's also why insurance carriers don't like drones. But you're looking at about $400 for your drone coverage, and that does have a liability deductible of $2,500. Liability deductibles aren't common, but. Again, because they don't like drones, they pack the deductible on there.
Can you even use a drone here within 5 miles of the airport?
You do get clearance.
It probably depends on how you can fly. And then the other question we had, which we're still waiting back, for an answer back from the underwriter on, is regarding cyber coverage.
Mhm.
Question about coverage on that, so we're waiting for a premium on that as well.
Most of the meetings I've been going to, they've been recommending to increase that. Schools are starting to get hit. That's what happened to Rochester, and I don't know if you saw, but MDE actually got hit the other day. So it's happening.
Has become a pretty common thing, even in the 8 years that I've been in business. We didn't sell a lot of cyber 8 years ago, but it's becoming a lot more common. So. As far as that, does anybody have any questions regarding the insurance specifically? Well, we talked about it a little bit before the meeting. Really, EMC is kind of the top tier for school insurance. There's other companies out there, but they don't do near as good of a job as EMC. And even with these rate increases, EMC is still competitive in the market. It's kind of a tough situation.
Jay was saying a lot of insurance companies won't even bid schools anymore.
Yeah. Even like on our smaller end, so a lot of what's happening in insurance too, just not to get too far into the weeds. Is the reinsurance companies took a beating in like Florida and California with all the natural disasters. Now, a lot of our carriers are regional, so they don't write in Florida and California, but the reinsurance companies that they buy their insurance from do. So if you guys are familiar with Claremont Insurance on Main Street in Casson, they're actually an insurance company. They're not an agent that we sell for. They have 2 employees and their reinsurance went up $30,000. So I mean, in the grand scheme of things with compared to EMC, I mean, they're probably not even a tenth the size of EMC. And they took a $30,000 increase on reinsurance. So it's just a tough market, but like I said, we'll see with the deductibles, you know, it might be a big enough savings. It's worth increasing the deductible. And we'll keep you posted on that. So,
Thanks, Pete.
any questions? If not, I'm gonna go to my daughter's t-ball. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, any more ready to make a motion? Some,
I'll make a motion to approve 7.1.
And then we're gonna look at the others, so then we just do that motion.
Approve it as it is, but if we can get it cheaper, we will.
Okay, I'll make a second.
motion from Rebecca, second from Dwayne. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Cause yeah, this needed to be done before July 1.
Mhm.
Discuss and approve FFA officer overnight retreat, July 25th to the 27th, 2023.
Yep, Mr. Erkler just wanted to get approval for his yearly officer retreat. And they go camping, and it's
I
been a,
believe they have a house they're renting this year. Ms. Hugline
set up somewhere down near Ostrander, maybe I wanna say, Leroy, down in that area, Spring
Okay.
Valley, I don't know. But that's what Jenna had said, it sounded like
Cool.
they were doing
Good.
this year.
I'll move to approve it.
I'll second it. Motion from Jim, second from Lloyd to approve the FA or 7.2. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and approve preliminary budget for 23-24. Amy.
Yeah, just to go back to the insurance too, all of my other schools are seeing the same increases, but that same percentage, so it's just everywhere. And like you mentioned about going out for bid, one of my schools went out for bid last year and nobody would, other than EMC would bid on it, so. It's just a really bad situation,
So is EMC the company that you're seeing in all of your other schools?
pretty much, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know why, it's just, I don't know if it's the risk or what, but yeah, they won't bid.
Good to
Really
know.
stinks,
Thank
yeah,
you for that.
hopefully that'll change. You know, things are so crazy out there. Anyway, budget. So just again, starting with enrollment, so I based this enrollment on 984 students. The revised budget was at 999, and I think, you know, looking at your enrollment sheet that's in the board packet, will actually end up this year better than projected, which is what we like. We like to budget conservatively, and so hopefully we'll have the same situations next year. It definitely was a tricky year to budget, or to start the budget for, because going off very rough estimates right now. We haven't gotten a formula yet from the state as far as calculating state aid. They given us estimates. But so it was interesting. So I'm crossing my fingers. I try to be conservative again with revenue. And hopefully when we do the revised budget, things will be looking better than what we're looking at here.
And the other thing we don't really know is the whole unemployment insurance
Right.
cost.
Yep.
I mean, the state said that they put away 135 million, but I was. Just from what I was talking to a couple schools, us and two other schools, I figured we're about 1.5 million.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just 3 schools
Yeah.
in southeast Minnesota. So when you start to think about all of the schools across the state, I don't think that 135 is going to cover this year.
And that's thinking just the first couple weeks of June, so. It's, yeah. We'll see what happens.
And they don't have any
No.
information for us.
Yep.
So in a lot of the other unfunded mandates, it's
Right.
probably the most difficult year that I've ever seen with the number of these are just the legislative changes that they gave us, and then the timelines and it's hard to know what's what. So
So yeah, when I come back, you know, in January, this could look completely different. We actually get answers on what we're actually getting for funding and what the requirements are going to be for the mandates, so. Hopefully it's for the positive, but I'm a little nervous. But we've got good increases in funding, so I think that'll be good. I did budget for the 4% aid increase, which was passed. Based on some of the estimates, and right now we're looking at maybe an extra 700,000 in state aid, and that's from that 4%. We are getting a really nice increase in basic skills, which actually has gone down the last 2-3 years, so that we're getting that back up plus a little more. And then we're getting the increase in the special ed cross subsidy, so I think all of those will help. On the other side, this will be our last year of CARES funding from the federal side. So the last bit we have to spend is about 140,000, and compared to this year, we got about 400,000. So we'll see kind of a drop in that funding. So yeah, just a little breakdown on what everything looks like as far as how we're spending everything. Again, salaries, benefits, and contracted take up about 75-80% of the budget, which is typical. So that's about 12 million, or excuse me, about 10 million, and then another 2 million, 2-3 million in just other things, supplies and equipment, things like that. So if we want to look at just the overall general fund, and each designated pot, I know we had, when we ended last year, our unassigned fund balance had kind of gone down a little more than we we're comfortable with, so the goal of this year and next year especially, we're to kind of bring that back up. So we're looking at ending this year, fiscal 23 at about 8% fund balance, which is up. And then, at the end of fiscal 24, getting that back up to about 11.6%, so adding on about another $426,000 to the unassigned fund balance, which is good, we're gonna need that, so. And then kind of reserved pots, are a lot of those are, we're gonna use those up first. So whatever we're getting funding for those reserved pots, we're gonna try and use those before we touch the unassigned, so those are kind of an in and out. Long-term facility management, we kind of want to keep a little bit on hand for any future projects that come up. Same thing with safe schools, we kind of got a good fund balance there as well. But like I said, like I mentioned too, we're just still need a lot of clarification on all the mandates coming through. That could definitely affect this as well, so fingers crossed on that. And then looking at all the other funds combined here. So food service, we've still got a nice fund balance of about 104,000 at the end of fiscal 24. And that includes some upgrades. I know we're putting in a new dishwasher this year. There it will be, maybe it might be
This summer,
this summer, yeah. So
that's about 50,000.
yeah. But yeah, we built that reserve up now from the COVID fund, so. And I did see the application's open for free meals today, so
And are they
see.
requiring paper forms?
I haven't said it yet. I just saw the bullet from MD, so.
Okay,
That's, I think that, I don't know that they are because they're still, haven't figured out how they're gonna figure out compensatory. So I think they're assuming that people aren't gonna put them on, because why would they? So I don't think they're gonna, I don't know how they could require it because we can't. It'd be a pain for us to try to make people do it, so.
last week they
It'll be
didn't know,
interesting.
at the meeting we went to with everybody, they were like, don't know if they're gonna still require people to fill out forms or
Yeah,
not.
maybe,
It's kind of up in the air,
yeah. So I
because they
don't know.
do use it for other
They do,
things.
yeah, it affects
So-
other funding streams, it affects title money, it affects compensatory, other programs too, EL, so. Yeah. Hopefully they'll figure out a different formula, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. They have been able to bring in those numbers with all the other programs, they've kind of brought them in automatically. Which has helped that it's up to our numbers without having to have people fill them out, but. We know we're still not catching everybody, so. We'll see.
So how are we gonna do the funding for food services in the future then, if there's nothing coming in? I mean, if it's
Yeah.
paid for, is that just basically a dead deal then, or
The,
that money just moves to another pot?
which one?
Like the food service money?
No, it'll still be its own pot. Basically, right now, we submit claims
Okay,
to
so-
MDE for federal and state funding based on pre-introduced numbers. So now it'll just be
Meal count, right?
meal count, yeah. I'm assuming similar to what they did during COVID when everything was free, but I don't think the reimbursement rate will be as high as it was. I don't know how they could afford it, so. It'll be interesting. There's just, yeah, a lot of unanswered questions out there, on a lot of different funding streams. So, and it's almost July, so we'll see.
Yeah, and they did emphasize too at our meeting last week that, the thing to remember is when they talked about a 12 or $17 billion surplus, only 5 billion of that is ongoing.
Right.
Right,
So it's
yeah.
One time.
Mhm.
a lot of that is one-time funding that's not gonna be there.
Right.
Like the unemployment insurance money that they put in a pot, that it'll be gone before the summer's over. And they were,
But they predicted 2 years.
yeah,
Two years.
they said that can be used for the next 2 years. Well, it's not gonna last a year. So they weren't, I don't think they correctly projected the number of people that were going to apply for unemployment. I think that's gonna blow them out of the water,
Mhm.
and I think it's gonna hurt schools
Yeah, I think so.
pretty bad.
It'll be interesting. So, but at least, yeah, so I'll be interested to see how, if we kind of can keep that higher fund balance for food service, because it'll be nice, because I mean, there are things that need to be
Yeah.
replaced or updated, so.
Right.
Be nice to have that pot of money just for those things, rather than have to draw from something else. We'll see. on that one too. Community ed, luckily community ed is kind of stable. No new funding, But yeah, I mean, community ed is basic, it ebbs and flows. It's based on enrollment, it's based on participation, birth rates and things, so it kind of does go up and down, but right now, all the pots look really good, I think. There are a couple, projected any negative balances, but nothing that I'm concerned about, so. I think everything looks really good right now. Still getting some good grants for childcare. That's great.
They're gonna continue that where now it's automatic.
Oh, do not do
So
everyone.
I'm not quite sure, like, I'm trying to keep up with it, but it's like, because they had like, every month I would report all
I
that
know, yeah.
and now we have direct deposit, so I'll be interested to see if like you just see money come in,
Yeah.
would you just let me know?
Yeah.
What's happening, cause they're gonna kind of bypass me now, like,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm trying to follow
Yeah.
the.
Again, it's just one of those things,
Trail.
they're they work it out as they go along, I think, a little bit. Let's see, so and then debt service, that's just an in and out, that's just based on what we're gonna owe this year for principal and interest payments and. Scholarship the same, just kind of plugs along like it usually does, so. Yeah, it'll be interesting, but
Not a normal year.
not a normal year, but. Shouldn't be any surprise, I shouldn't say that, thanks myself, but anyway. Let's see.
Job security.
Right. Hopefully.
And the middle school will be paid off, right? when that-
Yes. It'll be paid off. Yes, right, in fiscal 24, yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
No,
so then that, yeah.
hopefully help.
So that will help because that's 150,000 in lease levy. So, but half of that will go to the Zen levy and then the rest of it will be freed up. That we won't have to be paying anymore.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, I do have, sorry. The medical assistance,
Oh, yeah.
is that? What is that?
It's a very specifically reserved funding. It's for like medical help for special ed students. So it's not as easy to spend. One thing I think we have looked at working on is third-party billing. It's a way to kind of get it spent down. But it can be a little more tricky.
And that's through,
And
that. No, I was just,
Yeah.
I don't know if I either missed it
And
before or
the-
haven't paid any attention, but.
The Family Medical Leave Act won't go into place until 26, I
Right.
believe.
Right.
But that's gonna cost money too.
It'll cost some, so we can hopefully, yeah.
But that's where people can take 12 weeks paid leave. There's no funding that comes with that.
No.
Just, we're gonna have to bear the cost of subs. So our sub costs are going to
Mhm.
most likely go up. They don't have to use sick leave.
Nope.
They can just put in for 12-week leave. Don't worry, they didn't put any money toward it.
No problem, we got it.
No problem.
We can do that.
Sorry, thank you.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
We have to approve the budget. Yep.
I make a motion.
1 second.
Motion from Dwayne, second from Rebecca. To 7.3. Any questions, comments? Let's see. Okay. Oh, this isn't, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 7.4, discuss and approve resolution certifying the population estimate for the 2023 payable 2024 levy.
You want to talk to that at all,
Well,
Christie? It just, this
For as
just,
much as I understand, because again, I've been reading a lot, ECFE funding will be increased. based on census population. So MCEA, Minnesota Community Education Association, has sent out an email that has said, you need your school board to certify the population estimate for 23-24 in order to get the new rate, which we have had an increase. So I looked into it, we do qualify, like they already pulled out all the schools that will qualify for it. So we need you guys to certify with the, get the name wrong, the state demographer. We need to submit the resolution. I looked it up and found that 2020 census was 6,879. Our current census is 6,957. So see, we want that money. So, and that's all a part of ECFE and early childhood funding and all of that, you know.
And we had to have a board resolution to pass
Yes.
this before the end of the month in order to be able to be eligible for that money.
Yep, so I have this, I printed out this sample. And,
They got this in the board minutes.
okay, right, so yeah, so we need someone to adopt this new census and, not, I mean, you could vote against it, but then it's just less money towards, for the school. And then we have to submit this to the state demographer, which I will honestly say I don't know how to do, but I'm hoping we're gonna track down you. Okay. But we have to do it by the 30th. If we want money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve 7.4. I'll second.
Motion from Wendy, second from Rebecca. For 7.4, any questions, comments? It's roll call, Wendy,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Dwayne,
Yes.
Jim.
Yep.
And Lloyd, yes. Resolution passes. Thank you. 7.5, discuss and approve 2023-2024 resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League.
Corey, want
Yeah, I can just touch on
to
it.
speak to that quick?
So the resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League basically just states that we will follow by all of their policies and abide by their handbook. So pretty straightforward. We need to pass a resolution every year in order to be able to participate in the postseason events.
Motion to approve 7.5.
Motion from Wendy, second from Jim for 7.5. Are there rates involved,
That's what's gonna
changes
cost.
going up?
To
You know?
my knowledge, no. So the
Because that was an issue here,
A
what,
few years ago.
a couple years ago?
I believe that we are, in this last month, I just submitted all of the activities that were registered for, and I believe that we were within like $70 or something of the previous year. So I think that it was staying pretty consistent.
Of course, I suppose that depends on how many participants are on your
Correct, yes.
activity.
Yep, a small amount. I think that was, more of it was, how many activities you were offering. Cause I believe it was, can't remember off the top of my head how much it was, but it was a flat rate per activity that we added. Or a flat rate for every activity that you participate in. But I don't believe that was an increase, but I can make sure that I can look into that further and get that to you as well. So,
It was just kind of a big deal here a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this,
Solved out or took care of itself or evened out or whatever, yeah. Anyway, okay,
perfect.
thank you. Sorry. Again, a resolution, Rebecca,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Dwayne,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Lloyd, yes, also. 7.6, approve MSBA Association dues and policy services renewal dues for 23-24.
that stayed about the same as well. And think of this year more than ever, we're gonna need those policy services.
I'll
There's-
move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion from Jim, oops, sorry, second from Wendy.
Mhm.
For 7.6, any questions or comments? Did you? oh, Any more to it? Oh, sorry. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 7.7. Discuss and approve MREA membership renewal for fiscal year 2023-2024.
I'd just add that most of the schools as a rural school, I feel that there's a lot of value in being a part of MREA. They do a lot of advocating on our behalf as a small rural school, and they definitely lobby on our behalf.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion from Jim, second from Dwayne. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Renewal or enrollment, sorry, enrollment update.
I know this is hard to see, but if you look at that top left quadrant. If you add the top two numbers, the 1013 and the 13, that gives you our total enrollment, which is 1026. So we ended the year actually one student more than we started the year with. If you look at just K-12 numbers, that's on the far right. Because I wanted to start to keep track of just K-12, because sometimes early childhood and those kind of things can mess with it. But we started with 947 and ended with 936. So we only lost 5 students over the whole course of the year this year. And if you look at last year, which is the bottom right quadrant, we actually lost 26 students over the course of the year last year. So this year we lost less students. And we actually ended up only down 24 students overall. If you look at the bottom left quadrant, so that 1033 and 17 is 24 less than where we ended this year. So all in all, it's still, I'd love to see more numbers and more students, but it was a better year than what we had last year as far as losing students during the year. Questions on enrollment?
So with the new apartment and stuff like that, do you see any numbers coming in from that?
Not yet. Not yet. I sure,
I heard it's doing well. So.
Well, kindergarten didn't sound very promising.
no, the kindergarten numbers overall did not sound very promising, and I think that's a trend
Yeah.
throughout. I know.
We're at 46. 46.
So. Concerning. You know, and again, next year, senior class, we'll be looking at, you know, right, what they have up there is 75. So. When you graduate 75 and bring in 46. It's. Problematic over time.
Doesn't take for long.
No. You know, if you look, our largest class this year was 80, what was it, 80? What was this, 87, that 6th grade class. And I can remember when we had
109.
hundreds,
Yeah, huh.
so. We are smaller, and that's, I mean, one of the things that we've addressed with the cuts that we're making is just not replacing people and right sizing, so. We'll only have one grade level in the elementary with 4 sections. The rest of them will be 3 sections next year. So, and adjusting at the middle school and high school, you know, numbers there too, so. Yeah. Any questions on enrollment?
Seven nine, discuss policy updates.
These are the ones that we were told last week that are going to need to be approved in July. They do not have the red line versions available yet, so I will get those to you as soon as I get them. But these were all impacted by legislation this year that will need to be updated. By July 31st. Well, actually, they said some of them we wouldn't have to update, but overall, they just said, just prepare your board to help them understand that all of those are going to change and will need to be addressed. And I know that one of the items on there was handbooks, and I know that there's a handbook meeting this week that they're going to go over how the new legislation affects the policy and then also affects handbooks, because some of the language in handbooks will have to change as well. So I will keep you posted as soon as I get the red line versions. I'll share those with you, but I just wanted to put it on your radar that lots of policy changes come.
You don't know what the graduation requirements one is?
Some of that will be the changes in course requirements that are going to be required. I know that, we do have an ethnic studies class, but that will be a graduation requirement. We do have personal finance, but that will be a graduation requirement. So it's like some of them that can be embedded in a course, but some of them they're saying may have to be its own course. And then when does that start? So like some of this will start for next year's freshmen. And won't impact like next year's graduating seniors, but starting with the freshman class of 23, 20, that it will. So still waiting on the clarifications on what exactly will be required. But there are definitely going to be some graduation requirements that change, and they at this point they haven't told us of anything that they're taking away. So yeah.
Yeah, even when you see that mandatory summer school instruction.
Even like on 624, I was talking to Mr. Luderman about that. They took away a lot of in the past, you used to have to qualify to do online learning. They basically said you can do online learning and you can do it with any of the students that are enrolled in your district. So that is a complete change from what it used to be. How we will figure that out as we go. I don't know what that looks like. I have to say that the meeting that I went to last week was very informative, but then they had MREA, MASA, C, they had MSBA, MDE, all of those folks were there, and every one of the groups that presented, they did a Q&A forum to begin with, but then they all kind of broke down and gave reports from their perspective. And all of them were pretty much of the same kind of mantra, where it was like, I'm going to give you an hour version of what should be about 6 hours, but I'm going to give you what I know now. And I will tell you that as soon as we know more, we'll tell you more. They said we would know a lot more by mid-June. Today is the 12th, which I would consider sort of mid-June, and we don't know anything different. So there's a lot of anxiety because like we don't know. The READ Act, there's a lot of stuff that's going to change with the K3 literacy, and a lot of the things that are outlined, we don't know. They said that every school district has to have a literacy specialist. Well, does that mean that we have to have our own, or does that mean that Zed can hire one, or SSC can hire one? Or because I'll be honest, I don't think there are enough literacy specialists in the state to cover the number of openings if every school had to hire one. So there's a lot of things that are up in the air. A lot of licensing changes, a lot of changes that we really don't have we have the legislation, but we don't have the interpretation of the legislation. If that makes sense.
Even the transportation of non-public school, like, that's, to me, it says homeschool, and so why?
Well, and like we have Grace
Private
in
schools.
Maranatha,
Oh, okay, there you go.
some of the legislation regarding that has changed. So. What specifically does that entail? But there's 27 policies up there and.
Yeah.
It's not minor little changes, you know, in the past, and I've only been doing this only my 4th year, so. But every year after the legislative session, you go to the, you know, the spring workshop. And you walk out of there with a pretty good grasp of the changes for the following year. This year was just, I felt overwhelmed and I don't feel like I had clear answers on a lot of, on anything really. So, very different year, lot of legislative changes. So, but those are the policies. I'll keep you posted as I get information on those. Any questions?
I have lots of questions, but.
You could have questions, I might not have answers. I have questions myself.
Yeah,
Don't know what to ask.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'll do my best to keep you posted on when we get those red line versions, and MSBA said that we should have those before the July meeting, so. That's my hope. If not, we may have to push off some of the changes until we get them.
Well, you just see things up there like the tobacco-free environment. It's like, I thought we were already in a tobacco-free environment. It's like,
Well, and a lot of it has changed because they legalized marijuana.
I guess that's okay.
So a lot of the things that are currently written in our policy have to change because. You have to include the words that. And describe what's legal, what's not. Like, it's not gonna really change the way we operate as a school.
Right,
I
but you
mean,
have to have the language.
it's still gonna be illegal here, but. The language has to change in our policies. So. Yeah,
Good luck.
Thank you.
Zed report. Well, let's see, we did come to agreement with the rest of the staff. It's basically a similar percentage wise deal as with the teachers. Although the paras, it won't show up so much now because they got a bump. They increased paras last fall or winter in order to be able to hire and keep some, so. Their increase now wasn't so much because they got a bump. And they're doing the same things, kind of, people are retiring or resigning and they're hiring, so it kind of the same things we've been doing. They did agree to, we're gonna have the same service. Zed will have the same service that we have with Amy, that group. Then see, the person might cover Zed, and I don't know if anybody else, but I think, is Amy Stewart going here? Or, I'm not sure.
she's Mabel Canton
Oh.
and us, and I think now gonna be La Crescent again. She was at La Crescent now.
And most everybody at Zed is, other than maybe Casson, is with that same.
SMS.
So, and it, well, and their business matters getting up there too, getting ready to retire, so. Yeah, that's basically what everybody has done when their people have retired, is go there. And then, well, the other thing that'll be coming up would be the joint powers agreement. They'll be focusing on that here this summer. With the goal that hopefully by the time the beginning of the school year. They'll have something to bring to you. And Patrick is willing to come if you want him to. The board meeting. 'Cause I don't know if this, are you guys done with it? Pretty much?
Well, you guys got kind of a little agreement going already, so.
On the joint powers? Yeah, well, at our meeting, they gave us copies, but they missed every other page. So we didn't, he went through it with us a little bit, but we really did. Yeah,
Do you want me to send you a copy of that? I'll send that to you. I do
Yeah,
have a copy of it.
and I think they got redlined the
Mhm.
changes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'll
you can
send that to
see
you,
what the old.
so you can see that.
And it needs to pass every board. It doesn't have to pass unanimously from each board, but it needs, every board needs to pass it. But otherwise, then we have a meeting this Thursday, I believe.
So do you see anything that's gonna hang something up? Or-
I don't think so.
I mean.
Nothing to hang up, any problems?
No, I don't think so. I think at this point it was, just make sure that the board agrees with it and then we could bring it to
All on boards.
all the boards.
Well, they want, yeah, part of it, if the soups were okay, then they figured it should pass through fairly smoothly through the rest, yeah. Hopefully,
Yeah, we'll see.
but,
Everyone seems to be on
well,
board.
I think the one thing they maybe had an issue was if they were to include another district. You know, how do you divvy up
Yeah.
or pay or what? But
Yeah,
I think the thought now is we're not looking for anybody because the growth is there. We don't really need another district.
yeah. The consensus was at this point, because I think a lot of the discussion got hung up on that. If you add a school district, how are they going to pay their fair share, if you will, of the new building? And what happens if somebody wants to join in 19 years? Well, because then they would only pay for the 1 year and then they would be a part owner. So they did come up with a formula with, if Zed dissolves, how would that the equity be distributed, which everybody agrees with. And then the other agreement that we all made was that nobody should come into Zed until we have all of our needs met. And staffing wise, we're not there in order to do that. So unless that were to happen, and then they just said, let's revisit in 5 years, 10 years. If we need to make adjustments at that time, we can do that. But overall, the agreement is something that we're all on the same page with.
Many changes could just be that change on each board.
Yeah, down the road, but the main joint powers agreement, I think, is good to go. Because we're all of the same mindset that nobody's interested in adding anybody, because we still have students on waiting lists. So until that goes away, we can't really think about adding another school district.
I think they're hiring a math teacher. They've never really had a regular math teacher. And then actually a FIAD person. They had no gym or any space before. Now they got a FIAD that will do adaptive or, yeah. So they are increasing some of the staff. Or, well, they've had people leave too, so they're shifting around.
And being in one site
responsibilities.
helps a lot.
Yeah. It may not be really more staff, but what they're able to do will be a little different.
Mhm.
Plus, it's a new facility that kind of looks good for people too.
Any questions? AD report. Please.
Good evening, everybody. It was a great end of the year. When we looked at our spring activities, there was a ton of fun being had by all. Just wanted to congratulate Hannah Strom and Pierce Peterson on participating in the state track meet. I think it's kind of funny. Think about sports puns at times. They used to call Penn State linebacker U. It might not be too long before we turn into like high high school, something like that. I mean, with her two high jumpers that went to state. So it'll be fun to follow that. Hannah did an awesome job PRing and placing fifth at the state track meet. So that's an awesome result there. We've got an activities department meeting coming up here at the end of the month where we're just going to kind of frame out what we are going to focus on next year and kind of implementing some of that R Factor curriculum that I've discussed previously. And then just wanted to remind everybody about the fall eligibility meeting again on August 9th, which is a Wednesday. So it's gonna be a little bit of a switch up. But that was the date that we worked out with the keynote speaker that we were able to schedule for that date. And then next Thursday, we're gonna have a homecoming planning meeting for next year's homecoming, which will be September 29th, which it's crazy, but if we don't start now, I feel like we're gonna be behind the 8 ball, right? So a lot of things there, looking for a lot of fun and just bringing some fun opportunities for us going forward. You got one more slide. Perfect. And I just wanted to say congrats to Bruce and Shelley. Bruce was named the Section 1A Volunteer of the Year for the track program, and Shelley was named the Section 1A Assistant Coach of the Year. She's had quite a run of it the last couple of years. Last year with Owen Peterson winning being the state champion in both the 110 meter hurdles as well as the 300 meter intermediate hurdles. And then this year we're sending two high jumpers to state. It's been a fun run to watch. So just congratulations to both of them. They're both huge contributors to our track program here. Kim deserves a lot of credit, but she definitely has a lot of help behind the scenes with it too. And when Bruce is here at 6:15 in the morning on the days we're hosting track meets, it's like, he definitely likes to put in his time, and it's greatly appreciated. So perfect. Any questions? All right, thanks everybody.
Principals report.
Hi, everybody. Month of May was an exciting month in the elementary school and a conclusion to a pretty successful year in Triton Elementary. And that's definitely a testament to the work that our staff does. Our elementary teachers, paraprofessionals, and support staff are second to none. And I can't thank them enough for the work that they have done throughout this year. This year also felt a lot more like a school year, coming off of the pandemic. Last year being my first year in the elementary school and working through some behaviors. I think Triton Elementary is in a really good spot moving into the future. Picture on the top, many of you may remember the Wax Museum Day for our fifth graders. We had that again as well. Well attended by families and our students of the other grade levels go down there. There's great work with our fifth grade there. On the bottom, I wanted to thank team for our Air and Sanity Day. It's a big undertaking. Comes at a cost. It's expensive to send the whole elementary school to Air and Sanity, but team fully funds that off of their fundraised money. And then they also help staff it while they're there. So we have parent volunteers at Air and Sanity, and the kids love that day. And we didn't have any broken bones this year, which is also a plus. You can go on to the next slide, Mr. Clerk. If you've been over by the playground, we currently have two of our what will be 3 Gaga pits. So this began as a senior project for one of our seniors this past year. They laid that's turf on the bottom. So they leveled out that space and put turf down. And Dave and his staff have been building the Gaga pit. So initially, I think we were going to have a red one, a green one, and an orange one. Some of you may know where those colors come from. But I think it ended up being red, green, and blue. I haven't seen the third one yet, but I'm pushing for orange because I think it would mean something to the people sitting out there. It might take them a while to realize that those are the old colors of the old high schools, but I'm worried if we have red and green and we don't have orange. I'll file a complaint. My phone will definitely ring. So
One thing we did learn though is we have kids that aren't quite big enough to get in and out of there.
So the green one, we left one board off, but what I think the plan is, and I actually was just at Goodhue last Thursday and they have some Gaga pits and just to shave down on the top one so that there's an entry and an exit spot, because those little guys and gals, we had a couple bonks trying to get in and out of there. And then the last picture there on the right, in May, our local librarian came in and just promotes reading over the summer, and she does a great job. And I've mentioned Tara Bradford a lot to this group, but if you're ever in the building, come look to see what Tara Bradford's doing in our media center down in the library now. Yeah, she's a fantastic teacher, and I'm very, very excited about the future of her in that space, doing STEM enrichment as well as library time. So I think I have one more slide. But like I mentioned, that month was a lot of fun. We had a lot of grade level trips to the wooden park and the fire engine park. And of course, our kindergartners took the tour of the firehouse and all those type of things. So the teachers did a great job making a end of the school year fun for our students. Huge thank you again to team. You know, we did that very successful fundraiser, but that group of parent volunteers do a lot for our school, and I'm excited to work with them in the future. When I put this together last Friday, we were fully staffed. Besides some paraprofessionals, and we're always in the market for hiring some new paraprofessionals. But now, after a phone call this morning, we're also in the market again for an elementary music teacher. I had offered, and a gentleman has accepted it last Friday, only to call me back today and said he's going somewhere else. But we're hopeful that we will get a music teacher by the end of the week. It is a busy summer. We started ESY. We're hosting Zed extended school year from today through the end of the month. And we also have targeted services. What we added last year, we're going to continue. We have the academic targeted services that we've always done traditionally, and that's paid through by Zed. But then here at Triton, we're going to house a behavioral targeted services, Mr. Anderson and a couple paraprofessionals. And we have some monies available that is in a pot for learning loss, and it has to be spent in the summer. And Amy encouraged if there's a way that we can do this. And so we're going to do that again. And we saw some great results with the behavioral targeted services. We have some new staff members, big turnaround in 5th grade. We have 2 new teachers on there. You approved Cole Rollins, and then there's also another lady, Morgan Rivers, is going to make up the team with Aaron Stahl for 5th grade. Those are the only classroom teachers that we've hired new, and we also have a new counselor, an additional special education teacher, and a couple new pairs that are hired already as well. So we're looking forward to next year. Busy summer. It's going to continue that way throughout the next couple months, but we're ready to go for September when those kids come back in on the 7th. So any questions for me? All right, I'll hand it over to Tricia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Right.
I thought I would share just a few highlights from the end of our year and then a couple of things I'm looking forward to for next school year. So at the middle school, one of the things that I love is the 8th grade recognition ceremony, which I can remember. My son Carson was an 8th grader, and this is something that we did a lot of planning on together. So I remember the start of this ceremony. And in every year, I've always been in the back and setting up the cafeteria for snacks. I've never been on stage before and seen it live. So it was really kind of cool for me. And I was really proud of our 8th graders. I thought they did such a great job in their presentations to the family and friends that were there. So it was a great event. So I was excited about that.
They were, I mean, a lot of times with 8th graders, they just get up there and read their card and move on.
Yeah.
And they were just, it was cool because it was just like, they were naturally just speaking to the audience, and you don't normally see that with that many 8th graders. So it was unique this year to see so many of them doing such a nice job
Yes, they did.
with presenting.
Truly, you never know what they might say in front of the microphone.
Right.
So you always hold your breath a little bit, but I
Yeah.
thought they did a
Oh, they did
fantastic
great.
job. So truly was really proud of them.
But I think some of that's from the practice that you did more practice
Yeah.
than they've done
Yeah.
probably in the past too. So
Yeah.
kudos.
Thank you. And then kind of a tradition too that we've always had that's fun is the last day when the 8th graders leave for the last time. The 6th, 7th graders and staff, we all form a tunnel, and then the 8th graders leave the middle school through that tunnel. So that's been a long-standing tradition and always something kind of fun that we look forward to as well. So that picture there shows them leaving through the tunnel on that last day. And I too want to shout out the team parent group at the middle school. They provided ice cream for all of us in the middle school after lunch on the last day of school. And it was really just a unique way to spend that last 45 minutes with the students just outside having ice cream together on a great day. it was pretty cool. And we couldn't have done that without the team parent group. So really enjoyed all of their efforts throughout the school year. So look forward to that next year too. And then a couple of things I'm looking forward to in the fall, Web Orientation Day. So this will be different with that taking place on Tuesday, September 5th for just the 6th graders and the 8th graders, the 8th grade web leaders. So that's something new, and I'm looking forward to that because having been the web advisor for so many years, sometimes we have up to 20 students that miss orientation day, and you just can't recreate that experience for them. So looking forward, to having kind of that special day with the 6th graders in the building and really giving those 8th graders that leadership opportunity throughout that day and to get to know those 6th graders. So something new that I think will be very impactful for our
Remember
school.
that first day of school is 6th grade and 9th grade. So that'll be neat.
Yeah.
And then the following day we'll have all 6-12, and then the following day we'll have the elementary.
Yeah, so yeah, different start to the school year, but I think it'll be very beneficial. And then also homeroom. I just wanted to mention homeroom. So homeroom has always been a part of the middle school. Our structure of being a multi-grade level has always been the same, 6th through 8th grade intermixed with a staff member for their 3 years of middle school. But what's been different is how often and when we have homeroom. This past year, homeroom was, it took place on block days and flex days and late start days. And so it was just kind of sporadic, and what teachers had said is they struggled building those relationships with their homeroom students. And the homeroom students didn't really get to know each other as well as they usually do. So I'm looking forward to next year. We're gonna have homeroom once a week, every Wednesday in the middle school. So I think that'll help building the relationships and that sense of community. And also I'm going to have the web leaders with their group of 6th grade all in the same homeroom. That means once a week, those 8th grade leaders are connecting with their 6th grade students that they're mentoring, as well as the rest of the homeroom. So again, I think it'll be great for team building and just bringing a sense of community to our middle school. So looking forward to a new homeroom structure.
So is that like first hour then? or-
We're gonna do it at the end of the day, actually.
Okay.
So it'll be, yep, we'll do last 20 minutes of every Wednesday will be homeroom. And the primary focus of those 20 minutes is building relationships. So we'll do a lot of team building or community building activities. We'll incorporate like our social house program competitions at that time as well. Yeah, so looking forward to that. And also just looking forward to my first year as the Dean of Students, the first full year together. So lots of exciting things I'm thinking about this summer as I plan for next fall.
Seems like you were all here.
Yeah, any questions? All right,
Thanks, Tricia. Thank you.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. As Tricia and Shane had mentioned, we had what I'd like to say, a successful end of the school year. A lot of times you finish up and graduation's over. How was the end of the school year? How did things go? And I was thinking about this the day I was putting the report together, and I was like, I don't remember too many issues at all. That means it must have gone well, right? So I'm really proud of our kids, proud of our staff in finishing things off for a very successful end to the school year. We've made a little bit of a tradition. The elementary staff has done it for a number of years, but to go out to the buses at the end of the day and continue to encourage the secondary staff to get out there as well as the tunnel that Mrs. Johnson was pointing out there. One thing we went away from when COVID came was the picture on the playground. So if you go through Alumni Hall, you can see we have a number of years with a picture on a playground. When COVID came, we went to just doing the senior pictures of each student. So we're going back to this as well. So we'll probably have their senior pictures plus the playground shot accompanying that. So excited to do that. Miss Strom, I wanted to make sure and point her out. She was the principal's award winner this year. If you attended scholarship and senior awards night, so congratulations to her. And also qualified for state track in the high jump and finished 5th, I believe there. So I told her when she received the award, from now on, it's principal's award winning Strom. But now she can add the high jump state qualifier to her title as well. So congratulations to Miss Strom there. A number of you were there, but graduation, a week ago on Sunday. It's really nice to have graduation in a dehumidified gymnasium. So, that's probably the number one call I get before graduation is the air conditioning going to be working? So it was, and I felt the program went great. So thanks to those that came to help out. With the next one, there's a slick thing. In the summertime, it's fun to take a step back and really kind of reflect on how things are going and what we need to focus on during the next school year. So there are a number of ways that you can quantify this and measure it within a school, but whenever we finish a semester, I like to go through and look at data and see how things are going. So if you look at this chart here, obviously you have 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. You have last school year, the 21-22 school year and the 22-23 school year. So if you look at this with the 9th grade, 10 are the number of students that failed a course. And the number in parentheses are the total number of failures for that grade. Okay, so if you go through and look at this, and obviously there's more to quantify and measure in the school than just passing and failing rates, right? But if we're doing things right, we should see those decrease. So I was pleasantly surprised at the end of first semester this school year, and I was like, oh, we only had 28. 28 is still too many. But in terms of where we've been as a school, it's a big improvement. So 28 for both semesters. I don't know the odds of that being the same amount, but it definitely was this school year. So wanted to make sure and point that out. Know that the improvement in passing rates, it's just not an accidental thing. I think gone are the days are, you came to school, but you didn't do your stuff, you fail. Obviously we want all of our students to learn and gain the knowledge and skills that they need to be promoted and graduate. But I think it's a testament to our staff and working extremely hard with our students to make sure they leave with the necessary skills that they need when they finish here. So excited to see that. Attendance rates. If you look here, I'll just explain this a little bit. I put the 18-19 school year because that was our last complete school year pre-COVID. As you can see, we're at a 93.01 attendance rate. We had the COVID year. And then if you remember, 2021 is when we had two groups of students for most of the year and it was at every other day attendance. But overall, our attendance was about 88%. Last year it went up again, and this year we're pretty close to the pre-pandemic time with attendance. So hopefully we'll see that continue to grow as well and improve.
And one of the things that we've looked at with Redefining Ready is that attendance for 9th grade students is a predictor for being career ready.
Yep. All right, some calendar information. Wanted to present this to the board and maybe have some conversation here tonight. If you remember, a year or two ago, we talked about adding flex days, those flex Fridays, if you remember, to provide our teachers some additional time to work with students that need the additional help. And working with staff, I'm a big proponent of flex Fridays, and it was hard for me to say this because I believe in it, but there were some things with staff where they wanted to see some changes. And I believe it's my job to sit back and reflect on that and make sure that our policies and our procedures reflect what our staff feels will work the best. So with that in mind, you can see this here is a snapshot of what is the board approved calendar as of right now. So these dates here, you can see our flex days. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The recommendation and the change that we'd like to make, it's open for discussion. We can bring it forward in July, Mr. Schlichting, if that's okay, would be to scale that back a little bit and go with three of those flex days for next year. So those would be the recommendation I'd make would be November the 3rd, the 12th of January, and March 21. The reason for those dates, November the 3rd, here you have the little star, that means it's midterm. That's mid-semester, so it gives us an opportunity to get as many students caught up at that time as we can. January the 12th, as you can see, we have another little star there. That's a week before the semester. So if we have students that have been ill, been on vacation, missed school time for whatever, it gives us an opportunity to make sure their assessments are done before the end of the semester. And then March 21, once again, that's midterm time. So we'd like to scale that back a little bit and refine it, but would like to move forward with those 3 dates. Once again, the calendar as it is now with the flex days is board approved. But wanted to see if there were questions or comments before moving forward with a recommendation with.
What was
Mr.
the
Schlichter.
biggest gripe or whatever you said from as many as you had to 3?
A number of things, I think. Mrs. Johnson had alluded to it a little bit, having a large variety in schedules and consistency for kids. I think that's an issue. With staff, it was scaled back instructional time a little bit too. So those were the 2 main things that I heard,
I like consistency, so it's
Yeah.
understand that part of it.
for sure. Any other questions on the flex day piece? Okay, graduation, one thing I wanted to bring up, it's been a conversation with staff, had some feedback from parents. Everything was positive with graduation, so I don't want to seem like it was not. But a continued conversation I've had is, would it make sense to do Friday night? Then families and staff, everybody involved, you have all day Saturday and Sunday for your parties and things like that. So I'm not saying I'm in favor of one way or another. Obviously, I want to do what's going to meet the needs of our families and our community first and foremost. I know for me, the Friday night would be really nice, but you know, like anything else, the graduation, it's not about me, it's about our kids and families, right? One thing to consider with that, we've struggled a little bit with attendance for band and choir at times for graduation because grades are submitted. So our last day of school, I believe next year is Friday, May the 31st. So right here, you can tell it's an early out. So if we went with this plan, we would do our grad practice that day. As we do now, we do our senior walk, we do our photo on the playground, and graduation would then be that same night. So everything is fresh in their mind from practice and things there. So, but one thing with the band and choir piece, you can tell our last day is here on the 31st, and then we come back for grading the staff workday on the 3rd. So grades would then be submitted after graduation for those underclassmen that should report for band and choir participation there. So we're thinking about it with permission from Mr. Schlichting and board. I would put out an inquiry to our to-be senior families saying, we've received some feedback. Some folks would prefer Friday. Do you have a preference either way? And if so, why? And then I could bring those results back for further discussion. If you don't even want to do that, you want to say, let's leave it on Sunday or let's do Friday. We can make anything work, but wanted to put on the radar that discussion on Friday has taken place. One thing we'll know more about, I'd say in the next 3 to 4 weeks, Corey, is the calendar for section games for playoffs should be out. So if we'd be slated for a playoff game on a Friday, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But a lot of schools do graduate on Friday, so I feel the section usually tries to stay away from that date. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
if we took the corresponding dates from this year's calendar to next year, there wouldn't be any section dates on that Friday.
One more piece with end of the school year and graduation and such, baccalaureate. I don't know if anybody was there this year, but we moved that from the Wednesday of boards to a Sunday because we had to get creative with our board schedule too, because we had a section track and field meet and a baseball game. It turns out that it's probably best to leave it on Wednesday night. regardless of activities going on. Mr. Schlichting was there. Attendance was it's the lowest number of students attending I've seen in my 8 years, my 7-8 years here at Triton. Plus it was an 80-degree beautiful Sunday afternoon as well. Questions on, I know we talked about a lot, we talked about flex days and graduation. I'm curious, any questions on the Friday night? Any thoughts? Would you like me to move forward to gather some feedback from families? How would you like me to proceed there?
See anything wrong with asking about that feedback.
Okay,
I mean,
I want to make sure you're informed too, because I send it out. What are we talking about Friday night, right? They hit you at the grocery store.
And I'll
Yeah.
be like, where did this come from?
Yeah, that's why we have the conversation first. And I'm curious as a parent of a to be senior, what are your thoughts? Do you have a preference either way?
I don't, I mean, tradition has always been Sunday, but I'm certainly open to. I think for the most part, as long as we communicate well with families and. You get that feedback, I don't see any reason why change couldn't be made. I can't tell you off the top of my head whether I'm for it or against it, I don't really.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me. I just need to know when it's gonna be.
I think one problem for families would be if you have people coming long distance. Not everybody has all their family right here.
But at the same time, do you feel we've moved away from the extended family attending graduation ceremonies?
Sometimes,
That's
I
the
mean,
way I feel.
attendance, it seems,
A little
Like after
bit.
COVID.
Well, a
Like
little
I had,
bit, or just,
my family all came, but it was before COVID.
yeah.
I know the gym was much more full this year.
It was
compared to
pretty
a
cool
year
this
ago.
year. I thought it was.
Attendance was really good this year. I was excited about that.
I don't know about construction type workers who have to drive farther away to come home on the weekends or whatever, things like that, but that might be.
Yeah.
An issue.
And once again, personally, it'd be nice to wrap up the school year on a Friday night and have the weekend there. I get that for me. But obviously it's about our kids and families and what's gonna work best for them. So,
I do like the way you had that presented, like how you go through all the different events and stuff and then finish it up. I do kind of like that.
okay,
I think the kids would like that too. but-
you never know, right? Sometimes what seems like an automatic, sometimes, you
Yeah,
put it in
no, I get
practice and it doesn't work.
That's
real
why I'm
well.
saying that certainly there's nothing wrong with that, just to see what.
It'd be interesting to see what the feedback would be.
Right, it would be.
Sure.
I will bring that back July's meeting. Is that all right?
Sure.
All right, I don't know if I have anything else
One more.
after this. For the summer, I know we've talked about staffing. As of today, our teaching staff in the middle and high school. Mrs. Johnson, I think we're staffed, aren't we?
I think so.
Yeah, good deal there. It's been busy for sure. That onboarding, what we try and do with that is to meet with as many new staff throughout the months. As soon as they're board approved, of course, in June and July, and get them the technology that they need and access to their room. And look at a schedule, student list, et cetera. We find the more we do that, the better off we are come August. And then transitioning into the beginning of the school year. We've met with most of our new folks over the last week already, so excited to have them, and they seem excited as well. The technology piece there, I wish I could remember exactly what I meant when I put that bullet point on there, to be honest with you, but I know the one thing I can speak to is we're working hard to make sure our staff and students have updated technology. And obviously there are things that we need to do throughout the course of the summer with schedules, et cetera, to make sure we're prepared. Newsletter communications, we usually send 3 throughout the course of the summer. Usually we look at the middle of July and then the end of July, 1st of August, and then the middle of August for those. So be on the lookout for those. The handbooks, we've started conversations. We met on the middle school student handbook today, and it was kind of, we'll do as much as we can now, but wait and see. Due to all the MSBA, the recommendations with policy change. So we'll have to make sure our handbooks reflect those. The district achievement team. If you remember, that's the group that guides our PLCs and professional development throughout the course of the year. We'll be meeting with them in the next week or so. So excited to get that process going. Today was the first day of credit recovery at the ALC. We have a few students enrolled throughout the course of the summer. But hopefully that number continues to shrink, because the best thing about credit recovery is when you don't have to have credit recovery. So hopefully we'll continue to see that trend. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
you. Superintendent's report.
Just wanted to solidify that I didn't hear anything against August 2nd. Use that as a study session date at 6 o'clock. That's a Wednesday. Negotiations, I've gotten letters from both certified and classified that they would like to begin. I've not gotten a solid date from either of them yet on when they would like to start. Legislative update, I've talked a lot about that already. It has been a overwhelming year of changes, so we'll figure it out as we go. And yeah. And then just wanted to let you know tomorrow and Wednesday, the admin team is going to Rochester for a reunification training. So that's something we've talked about for years with our crisis management team. So looking forward to that, because that's always been kind of a, are we doing it? Do we have a good plan or not? So I'm not really sure what we're going to learn there, but it'll be good. And another one of the, and now that I bring that up, another one of the legislative changes that we don't really understand yet was they are changing the code red drills or the active shooter drills that we've done in the past. So I'm not sure what those will look like moving forward. I believe that they've gone to, from what I understand, people can opt out of those now. So I don't know what that would look like if a child opts out of it. What do we do with them when we're doing a drill and they don't want to be a part of it, or their parents don't want them to be a part of it? So we'll find out. We still don't really know what changes have happened, other than that they've made changes. So waiting to hear on that as well. But excited about tomorrow, because that'll be a good training. And we did meet with the pastors last week, and I know that the chaplain services from the county are actually going to be attending as well. So talked to Roger Langworthy, he was planning on being there as well. So that was a good meeting, and just touching base with them on all the different things that are going on in the school community. Any questions?
How did the turning in of the computers and stuff like that, it worked out pretty good this year then? Everything, no problems?
Always problems, I guess. I think the number one thing that is a challenge is the chargers. Those seem to get lost, but overall, I think the number of lost is probably as low as we've seen. Would you say that's, yeah, so.
Or that were lost, or
Or that we're not turned in.
oh, okay.
Much more of those are chargers.
Yeah.
I just, so the $45 or whatever we're.
Yeah, and I and I'll keep, I think maybe I was gonna do it at the study session, but since it's August, maybe we want to do that sooner, but I would like to bring that to the board for approval in July, the $40 user fee. I just think that the services that we provide, and I kind of put that in the updates, the gaggle services and the white glove services. I can think about, I had one parent that called me very upset this year that their child, and they were like, my child damaged their Chromebook, and I'm kind of upset that you don't offer insurance anymore. And it's like, well, we do. It's just, we don't make you pay for it. When we lease the computers, we lease them with what's called a white glove service. And with that, they give us a percentage of on-hand stock. So if a kid has a damaged Chromebook, we can just hand them a new one and take theirs, send it in to get fixed, and then they don't have any downtime. So that does cost money, and I'd like to continue with that. And I think that now with, you know, the number of devices, I think it's a way to offset some of the costs that we're going to see. The past few years, we've used the COVID money and that money's going away. So with that money going away, I think it's appropriate to start to ask, and I think $40 is very reasonable.
Well, not to, 'cause, yeah, I didn't, not to just spring this up. But would there be a point of maybe having two studies in? I don't mean to add meetings, but if you got maybe the August 2nd one could be later, we could have one. Maybe everybody's got their calendar figured out. I don't know, but with all these things up in the air, let's just,
Yeah,
I don't know. Or you guys can think about it. And
if it works, we could certainly do one.
I don't know what anybody else thinks, but
I just think it would be hard to do it before the July meeting. To do a study session
Sure.
before the July meeting at this point. Just with,
Right.
and I don't know that we're gonna know enough
sure.
before the July meeting. But I do know that Gaggle costs money and the white glove service costs money, and this would be a way to offset it. So that's why I think that's something that, I mean, we can talk about it, but I think we just need to put it up for a vote, and if it's good, we're good, and if not, then I'll figure something else out.
Is there, you think there's a way that we can, for some people that maybe can't come up with the 40 right away, we can do a 20 and a 20 or?
Yeah, and we've done that too, where if there's a hardship, we waive it.
Yeah, I know we
We've
talked.
done that over the years, and I would recommend that we continue to do that. So if it's something that somebody can't afford, I get it. But for those that can.
Yeah.
And I just think of me personally, not having to pay for school lunches. I don't get that benefit because my kids are all graduated, but not having to pay for school lunches next year for a lot of people will make that $40 seem like nothing. And I know that a lot of schools, and I don't recommend this, but I know a lot of schools are looking at increasing a lot of fees because
They're not
school
paying.
lunches are gonna be free. The nature of the beast. But yeah, any questions for me?
Anybody else, anything else?
Make a motion.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry, adjourned. Thank you.
It's like you were just waiting for someone to oppose that.
Yeah.